The news breaks just after sunrise. China threatens mass deportation of Filipino workers. The headline screams across every television, phone, and radio. For millions, coffee cups freeze mid-air. Phones buzz non-stop. Fear zips through the airwaves as families scramble to confirm what they've just heard. Is it real? How soon? What does this mean? In living rooms from Manila to Davao, parents rush to call loved ones abroad. Some can't get through. Others hear only hurried, whispered reassurances. Social media explodes. Hashtags trend. Panic mixes with anger and confusion. For a brief moment, the nation seems to hold its breath. The threat is not just bureaucratic, it is deeply personal. Every Filipino knows someone overseas. Every household seems tied to a breadwinner in a foreign land. Suddenly, their security feels paper thin. The news anchors return, repeating the same phrases. Experts debate. Politicians promise action. But uncertainty is the only certainty. On this morning, the future seems more fragile than ever. Word travels at the speed of worry. In the Philippines, news doesn't just move quickly, it spreads like wildfire, carried by anxious whispers and urgent taps on screens. In Quezon City, a mother drops her phone, her hands trembling as she dials her son in Shanghai, desperate for reassurance. Her heart pounds as she waits for him to pick up, every second stretching endlessly. In Cebu, a father sits alone on the sofa, staring at his phone, willing it to ring with good news. He checks his messages again and again, hoping for a sign that his loved ones are safe. Viber and Messenger light up with frantic messages. Are you okay? What's happening there? Come home if you have to. The digital world becomes a lifeline, connecting families across continents in real time. Emotions run high. Grandmothers weep quietly in corners, clutching rosaries. Children listen in confusion, sensing the tension in every adult conversation, not fully understanding but feeling the fear. In boarding houses across Hong Kong, Filipino workers gather in cramped kitchens, eyes glued to live reports. They huddle together, sharing updates and rumors, united by worry for families back home. Everyone speculates. Will the threat come true? How soon? Who will be first? Conversations swirl with questions and theories, each one adding to the uncertainty. False rumors spike. Some say the airports are already full of returning workers. Others claim China is only bluffing. But nobody really knows what is true, and the confusion only grows as social media amplifies every rumor. Uncertainty feeds the fear. Even those who are safe, for now, feel the weight of anxiety pressing down. The unknown becomes a heavy presence in every home. In these moments, news is not just information, it is a lifeline, a thread of hope. Every update is swallowed whole, dissected and shared again, as families cling to any scrap of clarity. Each household becomes its own command center, with family members monitoring every update, hoping for answers that never seem to come. In the end, it's not just the news that travels fast, it's the hope, the fear, and the love that binds everyone together. Overseas Filipino Workers, OFWs, are the lifeblood of many Filipino families, providing not just financial support but also a sense of hope and resilience that keeps families going through tough times. Nearly every Filipino family has a relative working abroad, whether it's a parent, sibling, or cousin, and their absence is felt in every household. They send home money, stories, and hope, bridging the distance with every message, every call, and every heartfelt letter. Last year, remittances from OFWs reached over $36 billion, a staggering amount that continues to grow each year. That's almost 10% of the entire country's economy, fueling businesses, supporting schools, and sustaining families from cities to remote villages. But these numbers only tell part of the story, because behind every statistic is a family waiting, hoping, and sacrificing. Behind each dollar sent home is a father in Dubai, a nurse in London, a domestic helper in Hong Kong, each one working long hours, often in unfamiliar places, just to provide for loved ones back home. Their sacrifices keep children in school, pay for medicine, and put food on the table, ensuring that dreams are not just imagined but pursued. The ripple effects go far, reaching beyond immediate families to touch entire communities and neighborhoods. A single OFW's income can support not just one family, but entire communities, cousins, neighbors, even distant relatives, lifting many out of poverty and giving hope for a better future. Emotionally, OFWs are more than just breadwinners. They are family anchors, holding everyone together despite the miles that separate them. Video calls become bedtime rituals, a way to say goodnight and share stories even from thousands of miles away. Birthday parties are celebrated on screens, with laughter and tears shared through digital connections. The distance is painful, but the connection remains strong, built on love, sacrifice, and the promise of reunion. If that flow stopped, it would not just be about lost income. It would be about broken dreams, interrupted educations, and empty dinner tables, a silence felt in every corner of the home and in the hearts of those left behind. Imagine for a moment if every Filipino worker in China, or even every overseas Filipino worker around the world, was suddenly forced to return home. The airports would be overflowing with people, packed to the brim with families reuniting, tears of joy and worry mixing in the arrival halls. Neighborhoods across the country would overflow with anxious, jobless returnees, each carrying stories of sacrifice and uncertainty. Streets would be filled with people searching for answers, unsure of what comes next. The Philippine economy would shudder under the weight of this sudden change. Businesses would slow down, and the financial markets would react with shock and uncertainty. Businesses that depend on OFW money, like small shops, restaurants, and service providers, would falter. Remittance centers, once bustling, would fall silent. Stores, schools, and hospitals would feel the shock. Unemployment would soar as more people compete for fewer jobs, and essential services would be stretched thin. Suddenly, millions would be looking for work in a country already struggling with job shortages. The competition for employment would become fiercer than ever. The government would scramble to provide aid, launching emergency programs and relief efforts to help those in need. Long lines would form at job fairs and aid offices, with people waiting hours just for a chance at a new beginning or a small amount of assistance. Social tensions could rise as communities adjust to the sudden change. Neighbors would worry about resources, jobs, and how to support one another. Families who once relied on regular remittances would face hard choices. The loss of steady income would force them to rethink their daily lives. How to pay the bills, how to keep the lights on and food on the table, how to keep kids in school when tuition and supplies suddenly seem out of reach. Some would be forced to sell possessions or take out loans, pawning valuables just to get by. The ripple effect would touch every corner of the country, from bustling cities to quiet rural towns. No community would be left untouched. This scenario is not just a policy problem for leaders to solve. It is a human crisis, affecting millions of lives, dreams, and futures. The consequences would echo for years, changing the fabric of society and the hopes of a generation. The sense of loss would linger long after the headlines fade away, leaving a mark on families and the nation as a whole. Much of the media focuses on China's threats. Dramatic headlines grab attention, and politicians issue statements. Every word from Beijing is analyzed and debated. The tension is real, and honestly, the stakes are high. But there is another story, less visible, happening in the United States. Over there, hundreds of Filipinos are quietly deported every month. No headlines scream about them. No politicians demand answers. Instead, these deportations slip by in silence, with the pain hidden behind closed doors and, tearful airport farewells. For those affected, the impact is just as severe. Families are separated, breadwinners vanish overnight, children wake up to find their parents gone. The sense of injustice is deep, but the world rarely notices. The difference is in the coverage. One story is shouted from the rooftops, the other is whispered, if at all. But for those at the center, both are equally devastating. Greggy left for Shenzhen 5 years ago. At first, his daughter Mia would cry when he called home. Over time, the distance became a routine ache. Greggy worked hard, sending money every month. His wife opened a small sari-sari store. Mia stayed in school. Life was far from easy, but it was stable. Now, everything has changed. Greggy calls every night, his voice tense. He says the rumors are everywhere. Some friends have already lost their jobs. Mia asks if Daddy is coming home. Her mother doesn't know what to say. The family's fear is overwhelming. Will the money stop? Will they have to close the store? How will they pay for Mia's school next year? Greggy feels helpless, unable to promise anything. Every day is a wait for news, good or bad. Their story is not unique. Across the Philippines, thousands of families live this nightmare. The headlines are distant thunder, the fear is close and constant. When an OFW's remittances stop, it's a shockwave. For Greggy's family, the first signs are small, the store stocks less, Mia skips snacks at school, medical checkups are delayed, bills pile up on the kitchen table. Each family member feels the pinch, but the effects reach further than one home. Local businesses suffer, landlords worry about unpaid rent, schools see more dropouts, even barangay health clinics notice more families needing help but unable to pay. The quiet crisis grows. Neighbors notice the changes. Some step in to help, but many are struggling too. The sense of community is strong, but so is the burden. People whisper about who might be next. As more families face the same fate, the village's mood darkens. Hope feels scarce. Everyone waits, hoping the crisis will pass, but fearing it may just be beginning. The Philippine government faces an impossible balancing act. On one side, it must protect its citizens abroad. On the other, it cannot afford to anger powerful countries like China or the US. Every decision is weighed carefully, every word is chosen for maximum effect and minimum fallout. Diplomats work overtime, negotiating behind closed doors. They try to reassure both the workers and their host countries. Publicly, officials urge calm. Privately, they know how fragile the situation is. A single misstep could make things worse. Families watch, hoping the government can do something, anything to keep their loved ones safe. Criticism rises. Some say officials are too soft, others say they are too aggressive. There are no easy answers. While leaders play the diplomatic game, ordinary Filipinos wait, trapped between hope and fear. The outcome will shape their futures in ways no one can predict. What happens next? No one knows for sure. Will China follow through on its threats? Will the US quietly continue its deportations? Or will new policies offer hope and stability for Filipino workers abroad? What is certain is this: behind every headline is a human story. Each statistic is a family, a father, a mother, a child, waiting for news. The world talks about power and politics, but rarely about the people at the center of the storm. As the headlines fade, it is easy to forget the faces behind them. But for millions of Filipinos, the story is not just about policies or politics, it is about survival, dignity, and hope. The nation waits, breath held, for the next update. And as we watch the news, let us remember, every story is personal. Every life matters. The real story goes far beyond the headlines.